The little girl did not cry when she said it, and that was what shattered Emily Carter the most. She was sitting on a cold wooden bench by Lake Union snow, drifting down in slow, careless flakes, when the voice cut through her thoughts like a blade. Small, steady, too calm for words that heavy. Emily had just turned 38 that morning, and she had spent the entire day pretending it was just another Tuesday. Emily Carter was used to being invisible in public places, not because she lacked presence, but because she wore it carefully. No assistants, no security, no luxury car waiting nearby. Just a cream-colored wool coat, perfectly tailored, and a neutral scarf wrapped tight against the Seattle cold. To anyone passing by, she looked like another professional woman stealing a quiet lunch break. No one would have guessed she ran a media and technology empire that shaped what millions of Americans saw every day. She had been answering emails, jaw tight, shoulders tense, when the girl appeared in front of her. 6 years old, maybe. Pale blonde hair escaping a loose ponytail. A brown coat too big for her thin frame. In one small hand, a worn teddy bear, missing one eye. "Ma'am," the girl said. "Are you sad?" Emily looked up, startled. She almost laughed it off. Almost. "Why would you think that?" The girl studied her face with unsettling seriousness. "You look like my daddy does when he thinks I am not watching. Like you are holding something heavy inside." Emily felt the breath leave her lungs. She had been called many things in her life. Brilliant, ruthless, untouchable, never transparent, especially not by a child. "I guess," Emily said slowly, "sometimes I am." The girl nodded, as if that confirmed something important. "Are you lonely too?" Emily did not answer right away. She thought of the penthouse apartment overlooking the city, the silence that greeted her every night, the birthday cake she had not bothered to buy. "Yes," she said finally. "I think I am." The girl's grip tightened around the teddy bear. "Me too." She pointed toward another bench a short distance away. A man sat there with his phone pressed to his ear, his free hand raking through his dark hair. His posture was rigid, his voice sharp, even from afar. Work stress. Emily recognized it instantly. "That is my daddy," the girl said. "His name is Daniel. He works all the time." Emily followed the girl's gaze. Daniel Carter looked like a man running on empty. Early 40s, tired eyes, the kind of exhaustion sleep could not fix. "And your mom?" Emily asked gently. The girl's voice dropped, but it did not break. "She's gone. Daddy says she is in heaven. He says she watches me, but I cannot talk to her or do girl things with her. Daddy tries, but he does not know how to braid hair or how to be soft." Emily felt something inside her chest crack open. She had negotiated billion-dollar deals without flinching, but this was unraveling her. The girl took a step closer. Her eyes were bright, hopeful, terrified. "I do not have a mama," she said. "Can I spend a day with you, just one day? You could be my mama for one day. I promise I will be good." The world seemed to tilt. Emily glanced at Daniel, still buried in his call, unaware his daughter was standing in front of a stranger, asking for the one thing Emily had spent her life convincing herself she did not need. She had built power, influence, control, an empire that bent to her decisions. But sitting on that frozen bench with a little girl clutching a broken teddy bear and offering her something more dangerous than any hostile takeover, Emily Carter realized something terrifying. For the first time in years, someone needed her, for who she was not, what she owned. And she did not know how to walk away. Daniel Carter ended the call too late. Emily was already standing, the little girl's hand still wrapped around her fingers, small and warm despite the cold. Daniel's phone dropped to his side as his eyes locked onto his daughter, then flicked to the woman beside her. His body stiffened instantly, instinct kicking in. Years of being the only parent had trained him to scan for danger, first explanations later. "Lily," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "I told you not to talk to strangers." "I did not bother her," Lily replied quickly, stepping half in front of Emily as if protecting her. "Her name is Emily. She's lonely like us." That stopped him. Daniel studied Emily more closely now. The coat, the posture, the way she did not rush to explain herself or retreat. Most women in her position would have already been defensive. She was not. She looked shaken, human. "I am sorry," Daniel said, rubbing the back of his neck. "She has been through a lot. We both have." Emily nodded. She did nothing wrong. She was very polite and very honest. Lily squeezed Emily's hand again. "Daddy, I asked her something important." Daniel exhaled slowly. "What did you ask her, sweetheart?" Lily lifted her chin, brave and fragile at the same time. "I asked if she could be my mama for one day." The sentence landed like a blow. Daniel's face drained of color. Shame rushed in first, then guilt, then fear. He crouched down in front of his daughter, lowering his voice. "You cannot ask someone that. That is too much to put on them." "It is not too much," Lily insisted, eyes glistening. "I just want to know how it feels." Daniel closed his eyes for a brief second. He had spent 2 years convincing himself that being enough was enough, that love could substitute for presence, that exhaustion was just part of the deal. Hearing his daughter say it out loud stripped every illusion bare. Emily spoke before he could stop her. She was not asking for forever. Daniel looked up, surprised. "She asked for one day," Emily continued softly, "and I understand how big that feels. But sometimes children ask for exactly what they need, even when it scares the adults." Daniel stood slowly. Up close, Emily noticed the lines around his eyes, the permanent tension in his shoulders. This was a man who carried responsibility like a second spine. "You do not know us," he said carefully. "You do not know what she has been through, or what it took to get her this far." "I do not," Emily admitted. "But I know what it looks like when someone is surviving instead of living." Daniel let out a bitter laugh. "That obvious, yes," Emily said. "To both of you." Silence settled between them, thick and uncomfortable. Lily looked from one adult to the other, fear creeping in now. She had spoken her wish out loud. She had made it real. And now she waited for the rejection. Daniel saw it in her eyes. He always did. He turned to Emily again, voice lower. "Her mother died from cancer. Fast, brutal, she was 5. Since then, it has been just us. I work in software. Deadlines, calls, emergencies. I tell myself I am doing it for her future, but some days I'm not sure she recognizes the present." Emily felt her throat tighten. She thought of her own father and the way he had taught her discipline, but never softness. The way success had become a substitute for connection. "I am not asking you to trust me blindly," Emily said. "And I am not asking to take her anywhere right now. But if you are willing, maybe we can talk. Sit down. All 3 of us." Daniel hesitated. Every instinct told him to say no. To take his daughter home, lock the door, return to the life he knew how to manage. But Lily's hand slipped into his warm and certain. "Please," Lily whispered. "Just talk." Daniel looked at his daughter, then at Emily. He saw no hunger in her eyes, no agenda, just something raw and unfinished. "All right," he said quietly. "We can talk." None of them knew it yet. But that decision made on a frozen park bench would fracture everything they thought their lives were built on. Emily did not answer right away. She sat back down on the bench, the cold seeping through her coat, and looked at Lily as if she were seeing her for the first time. Not as a child asking for comfort, but as someone brave enough to name a truth most adults buried for decades. One day Emily repeated slowly, "Tell me what you think that day would look like." Lily's face lit up cautious but hopeful. "We would do mama things. Not big things, just normal things." She glanced at her father, then back at Emily. "Maybe hot chocolate. And looking at pretty stuff in stores. And you could teach me something that only mamas know." Daniel's jaw tightened. He recognized that look. It was the look Lily used when she talked about memories she barely remembered, but still missed deeply. He knelt beside her, brushing snow from her sleeve. "Sweetheart, that sounds nice. But people cannot just become mamas for a day." "Why not?" Lily asked, genuinely confused. "People become lots of things for one day. Teachers, helpers, friends." Emily felt the words hit somewhere unguarded. Friends, helpers, roles she had mastered professionally, never personally. "Lily," Daniel said gently, "even if someone wants to help, they have their own life, their own responsibilities." Emily finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge beneath it. "What if my responsibilities are exactly what brought me here today?" Daniel looked at her sharply. Emily inhaled, steadying herself. "I came to this park because it is my birthday. And because I realized that if I disappeared tomorrow, the only thing that would stop moving is my calendar." That was the truth. Raw, undeniable. And it startled Daniel more than any polished explanation could have. "You are very successful," he said cautiously, noting the subtle authority in her posture now. "People like you do not usually sit alone on benches." "That depends on what you mean by successful," Emily replied. "I have power, influence, money, but I haven't built a life anyone would recognize as full." Lily listened quietly, absorbing every word. "My mama used to say grown-ups forget how to say what they really need," she said softly. "She said that is why they get so tired." Emily felt her eyes burn. She turned away for a moment, blinking hard. When she looked back, her voice had changed. Lower, more certain. "I cannot promise to be what your mother was," Emily said. "No one can replace her. And I would never try. But I can promise to show up for one day, if your dad says yes. One day of attention, one day of warmth, one day where you do not feel like something is missing." Daniel stood slowly. His instincts were screaming warnings, liability, boundaries, safety. But another voice, quieter and far more dangerous, was whispering truths he had avoided since his wife died. "What would that day cost you?" he asked. Emily did not hesitate. "Everything I have been avoiding." Daniel studied her. He saw it now. The control, the restraint, the unmistakable gravity of someone used to being obeyed. This woman was not just another professional passing time. She was powerful, and power made kindness complicated. "You understand that I would need to be involved," Daniel said. "References, boundaries, transparency." Emily nodded. "Of course, I would expect nothing less." Lily held her breath, and Daniel added, "This cannot be something you do out of pity." Emily met his gaze, unflinching. "It is not pity. It is recognition." Daniel looked down at his daughter, the girl who had lost her mother too young and learned to carry grief without collapsing. The girl who had just asked a stranger for a miracle and waited calmly for the answer. "Okay," he said finally. One day, we talk through everything first, and we do it safely. Lily gasped, then froze as if afraid to believe it. Really? Daniel smiled, tired but sincere. Really? Lily turned to Emily, eyes shining. You said yes. Emily felt something in her chest unlock. Not joy, not relief. Something heavier. Purpose. Yes, Emily said quietly. I did. None of them noticed the way the city noise seemed to soften around them. None of them understood that this was not a favor being granted. It was the first crack in the lives they thought were already set. They chose a small cafe across the street, the kind with fogged windows and mismatched chairs quiet enough to talk without feeling exposed. Daniel insisted on paying out of habit, then stopped himself midway through the motion, embarrassed. Emily noticed but said nothing. She had learned long ago that dignity mattered more than generosity. They sat by the window. Lily climbed onto the chair between them, swinging her legs, clutching her teddy bear like an anchor. The waitress came and went. Hot chocolate for Lily, coffee for Daniel, tea for Emily. Steam rose, blurring the world outside. This is where we slow down, Daniel said quietly, more to himself than to them. If we are doing this, we do it right. Emily nodded. Ask me anything. Daniel did not start with pleasantries. Who are you, really? Emily met his eyes. This was the moment she usually controlled, redirected, softened with credentials. She did none of that. I am Emily Carter. I run Northline Media. We build platforms, we influence narratives. I took over the company 3 years ago when my father retired. Daniel's eyebrows lifted despite himself. Northline Media, he repeated. That Northline. Emily inclined her head slightly. Yes. Silence stretched. Lily looked between them, confused by the shift in the air. Is that important? She asked. It means, Daniel said slowly, that you are far more powerful than you let on. Emily did not deny it. Power has never solved the parts of my life that matter most. Daniel took that in. Then why us? Emily folded her hands together, steady but not rigid. Because your daughter asked me if I was lonely. And she was right. Daniel looked down at his coffee jaw tight. He had spent years being the one who held things together. He had not expected to be the one exposed. After my wife died, he said I rebuilt everything around efficiency. Schedules, systems, survival. I thought love would just adapt. But children do not adapt to absence. They absorb it. Emily listened, fully present. That alone felt like a gift. I can teach Lily math, Daniel continued. I can protect her, provide for her, but I cannot give her what I do not have. Softness, ease, the sense that someone has time just for her. He swallowed. And every time she asks for it, I hear what I am failing to be. You are not failing, Emily said firmly. You are exhausted. Lily reached up and touched her father's arm. Daddy, you are my favorite person, she said simply. I just miss Mama sometimes. Daniel closed his eyes. The truth landed cleanly without accusation. Emily leaned forward slightly. If we do this, she said, I need you to understand something. I am not here to replace anyone. I am not trying to fix a hole that belongs to someone else. I am offering presence. Nothing more, nothing less. Daniel studied her again, seeing past the polish now. Beneath the authority was restraint. Beneath the restraint, longing. This woman had built walls as meticulously as he had built routines. And what do you get? He asked. Emily did not answer immediately. Lily's hot chocolate arrived, marshmallows floating on top. The girl smiled, content. Normal. That was the point. I get to be needed, Emily said finally. Not admired, not obeyed. Needed. Daniel exhaled. That is a dangerous thing to offer. I know, Emily replied. That is why I am offering it carefully. They talked for another hour about schedules, boundaries, locations, safety. Emily offered references without hesitation. A driver, a public record Daniel could verify, transparency in every direction. By the time they stood to leave, something subtle had shifted. Not trust, not yet, but alignment. Outside, snow had stopped falling. The city looked sharper, quieter. Next Saturday, Daniel said, we start small. Emily smiled, restrained but real. Next Saturday. Lily grabbed both their hands, one in each. It feels like something good, she said. None of them corrected her, because deep down they all felt it too. The first Saturday arrived faster than Emily expected. She woke before dawn, staring at the ceiling of her penthouse as the city lights faded into morning gray. For the first time in years, her calendar was empty by design. No meetings, no calls, no contingencies. Just a single name written in careful handwriting. Lily. Emily dressed simply. No tailored suit, no heels. A soft sweater, dark jeans, flat boots. She almost did not recognize herself in the mirror. The woman looking back seemed quieter, less armored. When she pulled up outside Daniel's townhouse, she noticed the hesitation in her own hands before she knocked. Power had never made her nervous. People did. The door opened almost immediately. Lily stood there in her brown coat, teddy bear tucked under one arm, eyes wide with disbelief. You came? She breathed as if afraid Emily might vanish if she blinked. I promised, Emily said. Daniel appeared behind her daughter, coffee mug in hand, already dressed, already braced for the day. You do not have to take her far, he said. And if at any point she feels overwhelmed, I will bring her home, Emily finished. No questions. Daniel nodded, grateful and still unsure. He watched Lily step outside, watched her place her small hand in Emily's without being asked. Something in his chest loosened, then tightened again. Letting go, even for a few hours, felt like learning to breathe differently. They started with breakfast at a quiet cafe near the water. Lily chose the booth by the window, pressing her nose to the glass as ferries drifted by. She talked constantly, filling the space with stories about school, about dreams she could not quite explain, about her mother's laugh. Emily listened without interrupting, without redirecting. Just listening. It felt strangely difficult, like using a muscle she had never trained. After breakfast, they walked through a small children's museum. Lily wanted to touch everything, ask about everything, understand how the world worked. Emily found herself kneeling on the floor beside her, explaining things, simply laughing when she got them wrong. Time behaved differently there. It stretched. It softened. At lunch, Lily grew quiet. Can I tell you something, she asked, eyes fixed on her plate. Always, Emily said. My mama used to take me for hot chocolate on Saturdays. Before she got sick. Lily swallowed. I miss that. Emily felt the familiar burn behind her eyes. She did not look away this time. Would you like to get hot chocolate after lunch? Lily nodded, relief flooding her face. They sat in a small cafe afterward, whipped cream melting into chocolate, as Lily talked about her mother in fragments. Songs, pancakes shaped like animals, hugs that came without asking. Emily did not try to fill the silence when it came. She let it exist. I am not trying to replace her, Emily said gently. No one could. I know, Lily replied. Daddy says it is okay to love more than one person. Mama would want that. Emily realized then that love did not arrive as a sudden declaration. It arrived as permission. By the time she brought Lily home, The sun was already sinking. Daniel opened the door to a daughter flushed with excitement and exhaustion. Lily ran into his arms, then turned back to Emily. "Can we do this again?" she asked, hopeful but careful. Daniel watched Emily closely. "If you both want to," Emily said. "Yes." One Saturday became 2, then 3, then weekends began to rearrange themselves around a small, unspoken truth. Emily left the office earlier. She delegated without guilt. She stopped measuring her worth by output alone. Daniel noticed the change first in Lily, then unexpectedly in himself. He slept better, worked better, breathed better. He found that sharing the weight did not make him less of a father. It made him more human. "She is giving me more than I am giving her," Emily admitted one evening as Daniel picked Lily up. "I did not know how lonely I was until your daughter named it." Daniel looked at her, seeing her now, not as a favor or a solution, but as someone standing on the same fragile ground. "Maybe that is what families do," he said quietly. "They take turns holding what is too heavy alone." Neither of them said the word family out loud, but Lily already had. 6 months passed before Lily asked the question that changed the shape of everything. They were sitting on the living room floor legs, tangled, surrounded by half-finished puzzles and crayons with worn tips. Emily had learned to sit like this without checking her phone, without listening for the pull of obligation. Lily was drawing carefully, tongue between her teeth, when she spoke as if asking about the weather. "There is a mothers and daughters tea party at my school," she said. "Everyone brings their mom." Emily felt the moment tighten like a held breath. "I know you are not my real mama, Lily," continued quickly, eyes still on the paper. "But you are the closest thing I have. Would you come with me, just for that day?" Emily did not answer right away. She was not afraid of the school, or the teachers, or the other parents. She was afraid of what saying yes would mean. Because this was not a Saturday. This was public. This was acknowledgement. "Yes," she said anyway, "if that is what you want." The tea party took place in a bright classroom, filled with tiny tables and paper flowers taped to the walls. Emily felt eyes on her the moment she walked in. Lily's hand wrapped tightly around hers. Some curious, some assessing, some quietly judgmental. She recognized the looks. She had seen them in boardrooms for years. But Lily did not let go. They sat together, drinking pretend tea from plastic cups, Lily leaning into her side as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The teacher smiled warmly, addressing Emily without hesitation as Lily's mother. Emily did not correct her. She did not need to. When it was time to introduce guests, Lily stood up straight. "This is Emily," she said proudly. "She is my special person." The words settled deep. Afterward, in the parking lot, Lily slipped her hand into Emily's and held it there. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "I was scared I would be the only one alone. I will always come when you need me." Emily replied, the promise forming before she could stop it. And she meant it. That evening, Daniel invited Emily to stay for dinner. It was not the first time, but it felt different. Less cautious. Less rehearsed. Lily talked through the entire meal, bouncing between stories, while Daniel and Emily exchanged glances filled with unspoken understanding. After Lily went to bed, the house settled into a rare stillness. Daniel poured 2 glasses of wine and sat across from Emily. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course." "When Lily first asked you to spend a day with her," he said carefully, "why did you really say yes?" Emily stared into the glass, watching the light fracture. "Because I spent my birthday alone," she said. Because I realized I had built something impressive and empty at the same time. Because I was sitting on a bench wondering if that was all there was. And then your daughter looked at me and asked if I was lonely. She looked up, eyes steady. I could not lie to her. Daniel exhaled slowly. She saved you. Yes, Emily said. And I think she is still doing it. Silence stretched, comfortable and charged. I did not plan this, Daniel said finally. I did not plan to feel this way. Neither did I, Emily replied. But pretending it is not happening will not make it go away. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. Not dramatic, not rushed, just certain. I am falling in love with you, he said. Watching you with my daughter, seeing how you show up, it changed everything. Tears slid down Emily's cheeks unguarded. I love you both, she said. This life, this family you let me be part of. They did not define it that night. They did not need to. Some truths were strong enough to stand without names. The first time Daniel said the word future out loud, it surprised them both. They were standing in the kitchen late one evening, the house quiet, except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Lily was asleep upstairs, her bedroom door cracked open the way she liked it. Emily was rinsing a mug, her sleeves pushed up, hair loose, in a way Daniel had never seen in public photographs. I was thinking, Daniel said almost casually, about next year. Emily froze for half a second, then turned to face him. About work, no, he said. About us. The word did not feel heavy. It felt earned. They moved carefully at first, not out of fear, but out of respect. For Lily. For the life that had already been broken once. Daniel did not want to rush her into something that felt like replacement. Emily did not want to claim a role that had never been offered. It was Lily who resolved the tension without realizing it. One evening, as the three of them sat on the couch watching a movie, Lily leaned her head against Emily's shoulder, then looked up at Daniel. Daddy, she said, when people love each other and live together, does that mean they are a family? Daniel answered honestly, sometimes, if they choose to be. Lily nodded thoughtfully. Then she smiled. Good, because I already chose. Emily felt her breath catch. Daniel's eyes burned, but he smiled. The proposal did not happen in a restaurant or on a stage. It happened in the same park where everything began on a quiet afternoon when the snow had long melted and the lake reflected a clear blue sky. Lily was a few steps away, feeding ducks, completely absorbed. Daniel took Emily's hand. I cannot promise perfection, he said, but I can promise presence and honesty and choosing you every day. Emily did not need time. Yes, she said, I choose you too. They told Lily that night. Does that mean, Lily asked slowly, that you will stay? Emily knelt in front of her, eyes level. If you want me to. Lily wrapped her arms around her neck. Forever, she said, voice muffled, but certain. The wedding was small, intentional, friends, a few family members, no press, no announcements. Lily wore a pale blue dress and carried her teddy bear down the aisle, beaming as if she understood exactly what she was holding together. At the reception, Lily insisted on giving a speech. She stood on a chair, gripping the microphone with both hands. I asked Emily to be my mama for one day, she said seriously. And she said yes. Then she stayed. She is not my first mama, but she is my forever mama, and I am very happy. There was not a dry eye in the room. Emily held Daniel's hand tightly, her heart full in a way no achievement had ever managed. She had built companies, shaped narratives, changed industries. But this was different. This was being chosen. This was choosing back. For the first time in her life, success felt quiet and complete. 3 years later, Emily found herself sitting on the same bench by Lake Union. The city looked different now. Or maybe she did. A stroller rested beside her, gently rocking, as her 6-month-old son slept beneath a soft blanket, his tiny fist curled in a way that still felt unreal. On her other side, Lily sat cross-legged, 8 years old now, reading quietly, her voice occasionally whispering the words she loved most. Daniel was at home, finishing dinner, sending messages that carried no urgency, only warmth. "Do you remember this place?" Lily asked, glancing up. Emily smiled. "I think about it more than you know." This was where she had been at the height of her power and the depth of her emptiness. Where success had meant control and nothing else. Where a little girl with a broken teddy bear had asked a question no boardroom ever dared to ask. "Were you really lonely back then?" Lily asked. Emily looked at the water, at the slow ripple of light. "Very." Lily considered that. "I do not feel lonely anymore." "Neither do I," Emily said. Lily leaned against her shoulder the way she had done since she was small. "I think sometimes angels come as little girls," she said thoughtfully. "And sometimes they come as sad ladies on park benches. And sometimes they find each other exactly when they are supposed to." Emily pressed a kiss into Lily's hair, her throat tight. She had once believed that life was something you conquered. That worth was something you earned through exhaustion and sacrifice. Lily had taught her otherwise. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Emily stood at the window of the home she shared with Daniel, watching the lights flicker across the water. Her phone buzzed with emails she would answer tomorrow. The company was still there. The responsibilities still mattered. But they no longer defined her. She thought back to that first question. "Can I spend a day with you?" One day had become weekends. Weekends had become dinners. Dinners had become a family. The loneliest moment of her life had not been a failure. It had been an opening. Emily Carter was still a CEO. She still made decisions that affected millions. She still carried authority in every room she entered. But now, she also carried a lunchbox some mornings. She attended school events. She read bedtime stories. She held a child through nightmares and a husband through doubts. She had spent years building an empire that could survive without her. Lily had taught her how to build something that could not. Connection, home, love. In the end, it was not the deals or the accolades that changed her life. It was the courage to say yes to a child who asked for presents instead of promises. Emily turned off the lights and went to bed, slipping into the space beside Daniel, their hands finding each other without thought. Somewhere down the hall, Lily slept peacefully, no longer afraid of being alone. And that was how Emily Carter learned the most powerful truth of all. You do not build a life by being needed by the world. You build it by choosing and being chosen by the people who matter most. From a psychological and social perspective, this story reveals a powerful truth we often overlook. People do not break because they lack success money or intelligence. They break because they lack meaningful connection. Emily had authority, Daniel had responsibility, and Lily had love. Yet all three carried an invisible emptiness. What healed them was not sacrifice or achievement, but presence. Real presence. The kind that listens, stays, and chooses again every day. In modern life, we are taught to chase milestones and call them happiness. But this story reminds us that fulfillment is not built through titles or schedules. It is built through human bonds, especially when we dare to show up for someone at the right moment. If this story moved, you take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue sharing stories that matter. And before you go, leave a comment with a short phrase that captures how you feel. Suggested comment not alone.